Welcome, beautiful people, to WAVETalks, a podcast by Wave Electronics, where we dive deep into the latest and greatest custom installer trends. Hello, B. Stu here from WAVETalks. Joining us today is the infamous Blake Deal from Lutron. Excited to have you here, Blake. Thanks for joining us.
Bryan, it's an honor to be here.
I'm excited.
We'll see how this goes.
This is going to be the first of many with myself and Blake. Blake and I go back a long time. We're going to tell some funny stories. We're going to have some business conversations. But why don't you give the audience a little background of who Blake Deal is and how long you've been with Lutron and what you do for Lutron.
This is interesting. So I'll give you my whole history in 30 seconds or less. I grew up in a farm in Illinois. I flew with helicopters in the Army for 6 years. And I joined Lutron in 1987. So I'm starting my 37th year there. For those you don't know, there's a reason I've been at Lutron 37 years. We'll talk a little bit about that, I think, as we get into this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, Lutron's been a great company, and Blake and I have worked side by side. And, for those of you that I'm going to date myself a little in the industry, but, the first time I met Blake was we were doing a training many, many years ago. And Blake throws this pyramid up on the screen, and he's known for his pyramids and lays things out. And he talks about the pyramid and different segments of business that are in these pyramids. And he talks about a product called Lutron Spacer. For those of you who have been doing Lutron for a while, you remember the Spacer program. And he got me really intrigued into lighting. And I thought to myself, I said, how are these AV integrators going to get into lighting? And the Spacer was the perfect product at that time. And you've continued to innovate and continue to bring new products to market that not only allow us to be successful in the residential markets, but allows us to look at commercial, MDU, builder, and there's products across the board. So, as we look into, obviously the staple of lighting controls is Lutron. There's two other product categories that Lutron's been, really instrumental in developing and successfully introducing into our communities. And that's motorized shades and obviously lighting.
Yeah.
So, talk a little bit about, those two categories. Talk about what's your advice for dealers being successful in adding shades to their business and adding lighting. I mean, because it could be daunting, but once they understand it's not, it's a great profit center and can be a business on its own.
Well, and I guess to that, before I get to those specific two, I want to go back even a little further and give everybody a history lesson, because I did this at a rep meeting we had in December, and it made me realize that without knowing the history, you really don't understand where the opportunity is. And we were at the first CD when CD was formed, I think, in 1993. And to Bryan's point, how are these low voltage guys going to get involved in lighting control? Fast forward, if you look at the CE Pro Top 100 and you talk to those leaders of the industry from an integration standpoint, they all have one brand in common, and it's Lutron. And it started with lighting control with our first homework product many, many years ago, back in 93, 94. I remember signing up the first CEDIA dealer. And then there was this company called Avid, which is where Bryan and I met. And that was back in 96, 97. We started working with the integrators through distribution. And it surprised even us, because you think of Lutron, we're an electrical company, electrical contractors, electrical distribution. And what's really been amazing, and we recognize this now and embrace it, is that the AV integrators are the leaders when it comes to this technology and the adoption of technology. So you hear all this talk about, smart is here to stay, smart home this, smart home that. I still don't believe it's here.
There's still a lot.
And there's still a tremendous opportunity, and it really takes the integrators to make that a reality for their homeowners.
Yeah.
And I think the key point I'd like to make there is that if you're a low voltage integrator and you have not adopted lighting control as a category of your business, start there. Right? You have to.
Actually, I've seen a lot of integrators, Blake, that when margins get tight on other product categories, it falls back into lighting, and they'll create lighting divisions within their organizations, and those lighting divisions are the most profitable parts of their business, and they're growing, and they're getting not only into residential lighting, but we talk about landscape lighting and everything that's around Lutron that you guys offer.
Yeah, and it's think about the home. You don't interface with anything in the home more than you do your lighting and lighting controls as a consumer. So that's the advantage you have, and tying that all together in the type of home you're in to make a experience. It's not about selling the product. It's what's the experience solution you're offering your homeowners, and that's really where I think the integrators have won.
Well, I mean, with the experience side of things, for me, Lutron as a product and lighting as a category is something that an integrator doesn't have to go in and sell the entire house. They can go in and touch on focal points. Maybe it's just the feeder or the media room. Maybe it's just a nursery. Maybe it's just Christmas lighting outside doing
Yep.
And so they give the experience to the customer of what it's like to be automated from a lighting perspective, what it's like to use voice for lighting with your integrations into Google and Amazon and everything else that's out there. So the integrations are there, and it's a good touch point, and it should be something to gain comfort and confidence for the integrator to that end user that they can execute the automation side of lighting. It's very simple.
Well, and 2 points on that. Once you get Lutron integrated into a home, like Bryan said, you don't do the whole house. We rarely do whole homes. Start with that family room. They're doing a kitchen remodel, do the kitchen. Once they get it in, you immediately have a repeat customer. They're going to want more of it.
Yep.
And it's like everything else. Once they have it in their home, and I've watched this, Bryan, you've lived it. All of our alliance partners I've worked with over years, whether it's Ring, Nest, Sonos, Sonance, any of them, they all tell me once they get lighting control and they move to a new house, the first thing their wife says is, okay, we need to get our Lutron put back in because I want my porch light to turn on automatically every night.
Yeah.
That's what the consumer misses. The other side of that too, which you touched on, is we've watched over the years. We started with just the lighting control. A lot of the top CD integrators now, that's where we make our money.
Mm-hmm.
It's the audio video is nice, but they're starting to narrow down and focus on that category.
Yeah.
And then I guess transition it into, we got the lighting control going, and then we start poking at this shade thing.
That's where I was going to go. So, shades, lighting 10, 15 years ago was daunting, and we're here today, and now everybody's, embracing it and moving forward. Now we're looking at shading, and, Lutron's been a leader at that as well. I personally live with shades in my house, automated by Lutron, and I love it. But talk to me a little bit about your thought process about how to get these dealers into this and embrace it.
So I'm going to give you history there too, because history is important. Mr. Spears started looking at shades when I started in 1987. We spent the first 15 years figuring it out. He had the technology. And again, it wasn't the electrical contractors that got us to heaven. It was the CD integrators that said, okay, there's something here with this motorized shade business. And it has become Lutron's fastest growing category of business in the last 5 years is our motorized window treatment business. So here's what I tell everybody. Bryan and I have had this conversation many, many times over the years. I believe as a tradesperson, don't care what trade you're in, right? Most of y'all, smaller businesses, not 100, 200 person organization. You don't have a purchasing department, an HR department, a billing department. You're running the whole business yourself. Time is money and very precious. So when you're looking at, okay, I'm an AV integrator and I'm an expert at Lutron lighting controls and I do this audio and this video and everything else. Now I'm going to get into this new category called window treatments. What skill sets do I possess today that are synergistic that would help me successfully get into that business? And then which ones maybe don't I possess that I need to? I'll summarize by saying this. Everybody should figure out how to add motorized shades to your business. For many of you, you may be better off just renting the skill set. With window treatments, there is a very high profit potential, but there's also a very high risk But if you don't do it right, you can lose a lot of money. And I think, Brian, you've seen that over the years where somebody goes to shade training and their first 2 or 3 jobs, they lose money. I watched for years when I was in Southern California, I worked out of our experience center. And here's what I've realized. When you want to sell window treatment successfully, you have to be able to talk about fashion, because who's selling the window treatments is usually the interior designer. And truth be told, if I look at any of the trades folks we deal with, whether it's electrical or AV, say, okay, Brian, I'm going to sit down with you and your wife and we're going to spend 3 hours talking about the fabrics for your 2 windows. That describes very few of you. Now, the smartest guy I saw at a training, he goes, oh yeah, I'm never going to do that. But my wife's an interior designer. He had her come to the training. So here's my point. When you're going to add that category to your business, think about those things. The best method is partner with somebody that does this for a living, do a couple jobs so you understand what the risk and potential reward is, and then you can make a good business decision on, okay, is this something I'm going to go all in on? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to own the skill set, train and develop my people to be able to do it? Or do I want to say, you know what, I've got a guy that does this for a living, I'm going to outsource? A lot of our biggest dealers, they'll get qualified. There was a guy in Brentwood. Mm-hmm. He was qualified for everything Lutron.
We've known to do with lighting with electricians.
Exactly.
The partner. The lighting guys that have been successful have partnered with electricians. Yep. When they scale and they get really big, they bring them in-house. And so with shading, we've seen the same thing is, you partner with interior designers, partner with people that specialize in this. And as your business grows, then you bring them in-house.
Yep.
And that's just how I think the growth is. And I think for seeing Lutron lighting, seeing shades and seeing the success there, I've been to the Lutron experience centers. I've been to Lutron corporate. I know the technology, and I know that when you guys come to market with something, you're not coming to market as a beta test. You're coming to market to win. And you're coming to market to bring a product that's going to win, because I've seen it for 20 plus years. Talk to me about the newest product that you guys released at CEDIA when we get into Lumaris. And so this is an exciting thing. And it's exciting for me because there's a lot of products on the shelf that an end user can walk into a store and pick up some rope lighting here and there, and they can peel the tape off the back and put it on, and a week later it falls off, and then the plug falls off, and then it doesn't work because an LED went out. With this product and how you're going to market, I think there's a big win here. So talk to us a little.
Well, Lutron, and you said it. Why Lutron? It just works. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons I've been there 37 years. I know when we launch something, whether it's a new category or a new product with an existing category, I know it. Brian knows it. Our dealers who use Lutron know that we're never the cheapest, but we always work. And that's important. When we got into this lighting category, and you've been followed on CEDIA for the last 2 or 3 years, lighting. It's all the traditional lighting companies have recognized, wow, maybe we'll start shifting away from electrical wholesalers to some of the folks in this industry in that luxury space. We're not a Me Too company. And Brian, like you mentioned, I can go on Amazon and buy tape light from 100 different companies, all made in the same place in China, and I'm going to get what I pay for. That's not how we approach things. So we realize this is going to be our first product with Lumaris, where we're going to introduce lighting as a category to the mainstream integration dealer community. We played, and we have this company called Ketra in Austin, which is the uber luxury space. But we needed something for Radio Raw. And remember, Radio Raw, we're our 3rd generation. It's been around since 1996. It still works, and it's going to continue to work. So we needed something that was native for that and provided the performance that people expected.
We're excited about it, and it's something that we're already getting a lot of buzz from.
Yeah.
So it's great to. I gotta tell a quick story. From Blake's perspective, there's a lot of seriousness as you hear from Blake. He's extremely extremely passionate about his business, about the company, and you look for that when you're with partners. But, there was a day when Wave didn't sell Lutron. And, I've been partnered with Blake a long time. In my previous life, sold Lutron. I've sold Lutron my whole time in the industry, whether I was an integrator, whether I was in distribution, it didn't matter. But Wave didn't always have Lutron. And so, Mark Fukuda and Ainsley Fukuda and us, we get together and we talk about some lines that we need many, many years ago. And Lutron was first on my list. And Blake made it very difficult. Even though he knew I'd be successful, he made it very difficult to bring on the line. And so for years, and it was like 2 years, we'd have meetings and we'd date Blake. We dated. Yeah, he's a tough date. But I will tell you, to date Blake, there was one thing that always had to happen. And the one thing that always had to happen is Blake was a 6 a.m. breakfast guy. And if you wanted a meeting with Blake, you're not getting the 10:30 a.m. breakfast slot. You're getting the 6 a.m. breakfast slot. And I don't know about you guys, but me, Mark, and Ainsley, we're not 6 a.m. breakfast guys. And so for years, we'd have so many meetings with Blake at 6 a.m. Every show, every time we're in town. But man, the moment we got that contract and the moment we got inventory, you can imagine when Blake said, all right, guys, let's meet for breakfast. Screw you, Blake. We're meeting at 10:30.
Ainsley.
You can take your 10 o'clock, your 6 o'clock and put it where the sun don't shine. So we decided not to do that. But, Blake, you've been an amazing partner. Lutron's been an amazing partner for us. We appreciate you joining us here today. I think the dealers get a lot of information out of this and know where to go to get the product, but also to understand how they need to get the product and how they need to expand on this moving forward and make it a part of their business. So, thank you.
Thank you. And I think I deal with all the distributors. I'm the guy that brought them on. We started with one, and I had to date a lot of folks over the years. And Bryan said, I was very critical because the worst thing I could do is say yes to somebody just because they said, oh, well, we want to sell Lutron. I needed somebody that's going to add value. And when I met with Bryan and Ainsley, I put them through the ringer, but I wanted to make sure that they were really going to support the customers, because from our perspective, I don't just need another distributor that can sell Lutron. I need somebody that's going to have the inventory. That matters, and Wave does, but more importantly, has the knowledge and can help the dealers get into the business and answer the questions. And certainly Wave, there's none better than that. So as a distributor partner, that's been a great relationship over the years.
Amen. We're looking forward to many more.
Very good.
Again.
Thank you.
Blake, thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
If you made it this far, thank you so much for sticking around. Here at WAVETalks, we also want to continue the conversation with you. Please send us what you'd like us to dive into next. Email us at wavetalks@waveinc.net or visit wave-electronics.com/waveu for all your helpful resources. Talk soon.